It is now officially map time on the Rachel Maddow Show. Not nap time, map time. This is the map. This is the Gulf of Mexico. This is the Gulf of Mexico showing its oil production. Each one of those tiny little yellow dots you see on the screen, I hope you have HD, represents an active oil production platform in the Gulf of Mexico. Look at all of them. Look at all of those little dots. In total, there are about 3,600 oil platforms currently operating in the Gulf. 3,600 of those tiny little yellow dots. What exactly are all of them doing? I'm glad you asked, because this is an important point. When the Deepwater Horizon oil rig blew up back in April, it was not producing oil. It was drilling for oil. There are two different things that happen out there on those platforms in the Gulf. You have a rig like the Deepwater Horizon that comes in and drills for oil. But then once it's done drilling, they essentially, put a cork in the hole, for lack of a less descriptive phrase at this point. They essentially stop up the hole they've just drilled, and the drilling platform goes away. Then a whole new platform, a whole different platform actually comes in, uncorks the hole, and gets the oil out of the well. It's two different types of rigs, two different processes. There's drilling, and then there's production. Drilling done with a drilling rig, production done with a production rig. The production platform pumps the oil back to shore through all of the green pipelines you see there on the map. Those are all those green lines. So again, drilling and production platforms, two different things. This is sort of oil industry 101, but this drilling versus production distinction is at the very heart of a very ugly and very stupid fight that's going on right now. As we speak, the Obama administration is trying to temporarily ban deepwater offshore oil drilling in the Gulf of Mexico. And today, for a second time this week, a Louisiana federal judge told them, no, you can't stop that drilling from happening. It is a decision that was met with massive celebration from politicians, including Governor Bobby Jindal of Louisiana, who headlined a Down with a Ban, Let's Keep Drilling rally earlier today.
We're here today to call on the federal government. We're saying don't double down on a failed arbitrary 6-month moratorium. The fact that the federal bureaucrats can't do their job shouldn't mean that thousands of Louisianians lose our jobs. It's as simple as that. The country needs the oil and gas that's being produced in the Gulf every day to power this economy.
Hi, Governor Jindal. It is your lucky day. You have caught us right in the middle of map time. When you say that America needs the oil that's being produced in the Gulf of Mexico, so down with the ban, fine. This temporary ban isn't going to affect the production in the Gulf of Mexico. This moratorium that the Obama administration wants to put in place affects exactly 33 of those 3,600 little yellow platforms marked on this map. And the ones that it affects are not the ones that are producing oil. It's only the ones that are drilling in deep water toward the oil. They haven't got to the oil yet. And that's a grand total of 33 of these more than 3,000 dots. That's it. Remember when the oil industry executives from the top 5 oil companies testified in front of Congress earlier this month? One of the amazing things that came out of that hearing, we talked about it on this show, was that all of the company's oil spill response plans for the Gulf were essentially the same plan. They were essentially copies of each other. They looked the same. The covers were different colors, but other than that, they were the same. And those executives were questioned about the fact that all of their plans called on the same resources in the event of a spill. So you call the same dead guy for advice on marine life. You save the same non-existent Caribbean walruses in the Gulf of Mexico. You ineffectively and inexpertly deploy the same boom. You activate all the same responders. You go to the same website. You call the same phone numbers. All of their plans are identical. They admitted it.
The cookie-cutter characterization should not come as much of a surprise because the industry has relied upon sharing of resources. Boats, booms, skimmer equipment. So those plans look the same because, in fact, they call upon the same resources to respond.
Right. This is a very important point, right? They call on all the same resources to respond, which means, okay, oil execs, okay, politicians, think about this just for a second. All of the resources that we put to deal with an oil spill in the Gulf are sort of busy. They're already being used right now. Those plans have been put into action. The resources have all been called up. It is all happening. So right now, if something else happens on another drilling rig out there in the Gulf, there are no resources available to respond. It's not like each individual company or each individual platform has their own response plan. They all only have the one, and the one response is sort of in process. So can you just hold your horses while we deal ineffectively with this other ongoing disaster that we're nowhere near stopping? It's not like this crisis is getting any better. It's actually getting worse. Yesterday, we didn't even have a containment dome on that gushing well for most of the day. Tens of thousands of additional gallons of oil are pouring into the Gulf every single day. It's an additive problem. Every day is worse than the day before, and the cleanup effort clearly cannot keep up. This is what the cleanup looks like right now. Ineffective boom piled up on a marsh in Grand Isle, Louisiana this week. This is not the old bad way they did it. It's how they're doing it now. Globs of oil now moving into Pensacola Bay in Florida. Officials there expecting it to reach farther inland tomorrow as it approaches Sabine Pass. 1,300 workers preparing to try to clean up all of the oil that comes ashore. This oil, which is still gushing from that well, is continuing unabated toward the coasts of Louisiana and Mississippi and Alabama and Florida. Even as we fail to respond to this existing disaster, the oil industry and genius politicians like Bobby Jindal are fighting to have the right to start another one. What would they suggest we do if something else goes wrong? The oil industry is not being shut down. New oil is. If you care, there is a difference.